Let's discuss the history of Google Cloud Platform's App Engine. Now, before Google Cloud Platform was actually Google Cloud Platform, App Engine was actually released somewhat before that ever occurred. Now, in about April 2008 is when Google App Engine really got its start. And we'll talk more about that. We're going to really just cover the history of Google App Engine, how App Engine got its start, some of the landmarks that App Engine went through, some of the features that were added. We're going to touch on some of these. The first thing that is important to understand is that Google App Engine was introduced in April 2008. This is really more of a preview to a developer group, more or less. At first, I believe they launched about 10,000 user accounts and then later on added another 10,000. So a total of 20,000 developers were able to go in and use Google App Engine. At the time, it was essentially deployed for Python applications. Now, this was back in 2008. So now, of course, that wouldn't fly because a lot of other applications, of course, are just as popular, if not more, like Ruby or Node.js, for example, or PHP. Now, Google decided that, okay, well, it looks like this is taking off. And so what Google did is they decided, well, let's go ahead and release it to the public in May of 2008. This, of course, did actually exceed expectations from my understanding, and they really did have a great solution that developers really liked. Even at the time in 2008, I remember when Google announced App Engine, at first I was a little bit, leery because it was limited. But then it was pretty obvious that this really gives developers that freedom from having to depend on that infrastructure. This was the beauty of App Engine. They really saw the future, or for that matter, helped develop the future. I'm not sure, but it's definitely history now. So over, 9+ or so years, they really took off. Google then in 2009 decided to release Java as a supported development language essentially as well. And that was, of course, well received. Some other things that occurred, for example, was cloud storage was released in 2010. 2011, 2012, there was also some major releases as well. Google, for example, App Engine was still considered more in, preview or basically beta mode in 2011. Officially, Google decided to fully support App Engine and actually make it more production ready. In about 2012, for example, they released the Go programming language. 2015, they supported PHP, and so on and so on. In about July 2012, they launched, is when they really launched Google Cloud Platform, essentially, as more of a partner program. I didn't have all the things I'm talking about here listed. They support Node.js in 2016, for example. And if you want to know more about the history of Google App Engine, this is an excellent article on medium.com. This is by Rito Meyer. He's a developer advocate, and he really did a great job in this article. So I encourage you to take a look at the link. It's called An Annotated History of Google Cloud Platform. And he really goes through the technical merits and the technical releases. He doesn't try to throw in that marketing fluff or sell you something. It's really a well-written, well-documented article. It would take you days to find this information, literally, because Google really doesn't have it in a one-stop shop. So it looks like Rito Meyer did an amazing compilation that I thought was very helpful. So I want to make sure I shared that with you. When it comes to App Engine use cases, some of the major use cases, again, for Google App Engine, from a historical perspective, at first it was really rolled out to develop apps. And then, they decided, hey, let's go ahead and support testing more. So it's one thing to develop, but it's another thing to actually test and validate. And then over time, Google App Engine added more production focused support, more production-focused applications. When they rolled out Google Cloud Platform fully, that's when, in my opinion, Google App Engine went from more of a development and test service to more of a production-ready service. And then they also decided, let's go ahead and make sure that our developers, our testers, our user base essentially can scale as well. That's when it really is fully supported, load balancing, auto scaling, all these really nice features that really make this an enterprise-ready platform as a service. One of the things that I like to just reiterate was that Google saw the need for integrating these data services like Cloud SQL, BigQuery, not just the production not just the production programming languages that people are using like Node.js and Go, etc., or mobile Node.js or whatever the focus is. They saw the need to make sure that you as a developer have the capability to not only develop and test your application, but also run it in production if you so choose, and then scale as well. That's really the story about App Engine that I like to tell from a historical perspective. I have a lot more I'm really excited to talk about. Let's proceed on and start talking about some of the capabilities, features, functions, the different ways to deploy an App Engine, how support is handled. There's a lot more to talk about. So let's go ahead. I'm excited to get started.